George Floyd, George Floyd, George Floyd. Hey guys, it's Cindy, the LD educator here. Really, this video was supposed to be my end of the year reflection video. However, over the course of the last couple of days with learning about George Floyd, I've just been in such a funk. Yeah, I mean, just a funk. I don't know quite else how to explain it. I posted today on Facebook. I actually posted something else that I read from someone else because I have no words. I'm not even sure I can really describe my emotional state other than the fact I'm definitely emotional. I keep trying not to read stuff, but then I can't help but read stuff. And then you read the reactions of some people and you get angry all over again. There was two things that really gave me hope that I want to share with you guys today. And I want to do it because if you're like me, you're still trying to wrap your mind around the senseless hate, disregard for human life. If you're like me, then like I said, you are just I don't know what to say honestly. If you're like so many of my friends, people that I call friends, people that I love who happen to be white, you're angry, you like maybe want to know what you can do to help. And to be honest, you know, sometimes I feel powerless. Sometimes I feel like, you know, does it matter? You know, I'm not a big time mobilizer. I'm not an activist. I'm not a huge influencer. But yet I keep seeing this tragedy. I keep seeing people, Black people, killed, mistreated. I mean, you know, I'm pregnant now. I've been seeing memes on Facebook that says I'm a mother of an African-American son, a Black son, whatever it is. And, you know, that has been my prayer. I want to have a son. But then it reminds me of the added pain and maybe sleepless nights that many African-American mothers faced who have sons, worried about their well-being when they're not in their presence, even as grown men, knowing that what happened to George Floyd could easily happen to their son, knowing that it was nothing about George Floyd, that he was a horrible person, that he was somewhere that he had no business doing, like everything about him. And you know what, and don't even comment saying that, you know, he was writing a forged check or whatever. I mean, millions of people do that, okay? Not to say it's right, but that should not be a death sentence. And for $20 is certainly not jail time. And we have to be smarter. Like if he's doing something for $20 at a grocery store, the man is hungry and trying to get food. But nevertheless, just thinking like, you know, the things that I do, you know, many of you know that I started my own school, and I started it for underserved students in my community. I live in an area where the schools are all Title I, and the public schools are absolutely horrible. I love public schools, or I believe in them. But the truth of the matter is there's so many of them there that is not doing a great job. And so I answered the call that I saw. I became a solution to the problem that I saw when I started my school, to help these students who have IEPs, who have learning differences, are falling through the cracks. And sometimes, when I look at the bigger lens that we're facing as African Americans, I wonder, is the work that I'm doing good enough? Is it impactful enough? I have to tell you, it crossed my mind, is it worth it? And there are two things that happened today that I feel like it was a God wink, that God said, yes, it is worth it, Cindy. And you are in the place that I called you to be. I'm going to read one to you right now. Today, I actually received a card in the mail from one of my parents. And basically it says, thank you. It says, Miss Lumpkin, it's the last day of school and you're getting this late because I'm such a procrastinator. We've been saying it all year, but I wanted to send this small token to show that we really, really appreciate all that you and Triumph have done for. I don't have to see test scores to know that he has made tremendous gains this year again. Thank you for following your calling. We will appreciate you forever. With gratitude. And my favorite, but honestly, without the gift card, the words was enough to say, even the small amount that you contribute to greater society is enough. So even when you see the magnitude of the problem that is facing African American males, to be able to pour into one, to help at least one, it's enough. So I guess if there is going to be any lessons or anything learned from this, for all you teachers, whether you're special education teachers, regular education teachers, high school, middle school, whether you're white or black or some other ethnicity, like what you do matter. And don't fall into the trap of thinking that you're not contributing. Even when you see so much going on in the world and that you feel helpless and that you feel small, know that pouring into that one could be the one that God uses to really cause a revival in our land. Her letter reminded me that no one person is called to do it all. But if we make an impact where we are, then that's good enough. The other thing that happened, my business coach, just in her own, I don't know, rage or trying to wrap her mind around the senseless killing of Black men. She happens to have a Black son, did a live today. And so much of what she said spoke to me. So I think I'm going to just let you guys hear for yourself versus trying to set it up.
I want to talk about mobilization. All right. So I'm just going to highlight 3 places where this should be simple for you. And when I say simple, it should be within your access, that you should be able to find a way to activate in one of these 3 areas. I'm only going to talk about one today, and I'm actually going to give you something that you can do that's actionable. Okay. And the first place I want to talk about is our mobilization in the education system. Okay. So let me just give you a little bit of understanding of what's happening in some of our higher risk or lower income areas. The schools are tremendously failing. Okay. Tremendously failing. I used to live in a part of Atlanta where there's absolutely no way that I would put my children in those schools. I had options. Many Black families don't have options. Many Black families have to go to work. One of the parents, both of the parents have to go to work, or many of them in those areas. Most of those families in those areas are single parent homes. Okay, so the mom has to go to work, the kids have to go to school, right? And the schools are failing them. Okay, 40% of the 9th grade class in the part of Atlanta that I'm talking about, 40% of the 9th grade class actually makes it to graduation, which means 60% are not graduating. okay? And the natural evolution of that is turning to crime in order to survive, okay? So let me go through that again. Low income, no options. A parent has to leave to go to work in order just to make things. I had an option of homeschooling. Parents don't have options. They don't have schools that they have access to. The charter schools, they have to be able to drive to these doggone charter schools. If I don't have a vehicle, I don't have a way to get my kindergartner to these charter schools, I can't get them to school. I can't pay for private school. They have to go to these public schools. These public schools are failing, but this is the education that my child gets, all right? Now, that's just the average child, right? Now think about the child that has an IEP or a child that has some type of learning difference of some sort, and they're going to these schools. Now you have that layer added to the already difficult task of trying to successfully educate these kids and matriculate them out into post-secondary options after high school. What needs to happen? How can we mobilize? Mobilize by figuring out how to be a part of improving the education experience for these children. Okay? I'm going to give you somewhere to go. Okay, I'm going to give you somewhere to go. Let me give you an example. Let me give you one more example of why our mobilization is so important. Is because many of our white counterparts, they are so oblivious to the struggle. I am in a meeting at my children's school. My children are blessed to be a part of a very, very lovely, wonderful school. We got together to talk about, I forget what the premise of the meeting was, but we wanted to talk about the imbalances racially in this. One of the staff members was over the student services, and he was sharing how the students that are getting these IEPs and the students that are getting these student services, he said, these are not white students. These are black and brown students that are needing this help. And he was like, there's a gap here. There's something. He said, I have enough of these students. He said, this is not like, they're not coming to me because inherently they need the help. They're coming to me because somewhere along the line, other systems have failed them, and they get to this school, and now they need the extra support. And he's like, why am I not seeing this with my white students? Why am I seeing this over and over and over and over again with my black students, right? One of the staff members that was there, God bless them, this was a very safe place to share, okay? So when I share what this teacher said, I'm not sharing this for this teacher to be bashed. This teacher shared this in order to get understanding, okay? He was very, very hesitant even saying it aloud because he didn't want to get attacked for saying this. So I don't want you guys to attack this teacher in my comments, okay? He says this school would not have been built in Southwest Atlanta. He said, because I don't see people mobilizing that the way that they mobilized to get that school off the ground in Atlanta. The school is fairly new, 6 years old. He was like, the way that I saw that, he's been there since boots on the ground since they started. I don't see that type of mobilization happening in Southwest Atlanta. This was his honest perception. Okay, please don't bash this man. My response and the response of the other parent was like, well, you're just not in the same rooms where this mobilization is happening, first of all, because the mobilization is happening. Second of all, you're talking about people that were able to that have money and education to pull this thing off. And in these other communities, you're dealing with people that definitely don't have the funds. They have the passion, they have the drive, they have the frustrations, they have other things driving them to this work, but they don't necessarily they definitely don't have the funds, and many times they don't have the education to, or at least some of the people that, that started the school in Buckhead, maybe they're further along on the experience side of it. In the people in Southwest Atlanta, they are now just cutting their teeth and getting the experience. It's just, there's just different, we got two different playing fields. Two different freaking playing fields, all trying to achieve the same goal. So don't compare your people dropping, $500,000 checks to get this school off the ground with these people, grassroots, $5 here, $25 there. You can't compare. Your donors are not the same as their donors. You don't even know that there's people over here trying to make this happen. So here's how you can help. There are people that are very passionate, organizations, schools that are very passionate about making a dent in this education gap. All right. And now that we've had COVID impact last quarter, they need our support more than ever. Because not only are they dealing with the summer gap, they're dealing with the quarter gap. Many of these students were not able to, successfully continue being educated because they needed those extra support systems that their IEPs were allowing for them that they no longer had. So education is a way to mobilize. And I'm just going to share with you one place. You can do your research on others. I'm going to share with you one place that you can drop some money right now. The work that this school is doing is ginormous in the difference they're making with their students. They need wisdom. They need people that know how to help them get into a building. They need smart people. This is the school. It's called Triumph Transition School, but they have families depending on them to be ready in the fall because the other schools have failed their children. Triumph Transition School works only with students with an active IEP. They help fill in those education gaps, and their desire is to be able to transition these children back into a normal school setting once they catch them up, and if not, transition them back into a normal school setting to, at minimum, well, I shouldn't say at minimum, this is the ultimate goal, no matter if they transition or not, to have post-secondary options after graduation. And we know, based off of statistics, when students are able to graduate and they have the skill set needed the life skills needed to survive on their own, they are much less tempted to live lives of crime.
I look at the problems that we face as a country, and then when you narrow that down, the problems that are faced in poor communities, the problems that are faced in African American communities. Yes, can we do more mobilization? Yeah, we could. Is it true that there's no mobilization going on? No, it isn't. It's exactly what she said, that sometimes it doesn't matter how many people come together, but if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the power, if you don't have the relationship with the banks, then you become an organization like mine, who is dedicated to staying in the community, dedicated to working for underserved people, but it's a struggle because you don't have the finances. And like her, I live in the area, I currently live in the area that I work in, and the school that my child is zoned to is a Title I school. It is low performing. And, we struggle. Like, are we going to send our child to this school? Not because of we were afraid of the kids that's there, but because we know that the education that they're getting is not equal to that across the other side of town. It's not equal to the private schools. And so having choices, because we chose private school, but my heart is still for those students. And that's why I stay. That's why I do what I do for the people that I do. And let me say this, not all of my students are impoverished. They're not whatsoever. So I want to be clear about that. But they're also not people who have means, just loads of money, lots of discretionary money. For them to send their child to school, even like me, is a sacrifice. Working with students why I call them underserved, because it could be because of finances, but mostly it's because the schools that they attend just don't have what's needed, or are not able to implement what's needed to really move them to the next level, to really help remediate their academic challenges, to teach them to advocate for themselves. I guess I close this video by just simply saying, for those of you who you feel small in this great big world, your heart goes out to George Floyd and every other African American person who is treated unfairly by these systems of oppression that seem so hard to break and to crack. Never stop feeling, but also don't fall in the trap where it almost seems or feel better to give up because you don't feel like you're adding anything to make it better, because you are. My letter from my parent reminded me that I answered a call. It might not be a call to millions, maybe thousands, maybe not even hundreds. Maybe I stay at tens and fives, but it's my call, and I am doing the work where I am. And don't miss the opportunity to see the beauty in small businesses, small organizations. Yeah, it's easy to say LDA, and they do awesome work, and that happens to be Learning Disabilities of America, whatever's the organization. Kind of weird to compare my school with that, but my point is, a lot of times when we want to give to organizations that have long-standing history, and we should, or that you can see, I wouldn't say that where you can see results, but everything is big. That's the nonprofit way. Oh, I can give you $1,000, but that $1,000 you need to be helping 1,000 kids. And the reality, especially when working with kids with disability, that's not a reality. So I would say to you, whether the cause of students with disabilities, whether it's mentoring boys or girls or whatever the cause is, look for those small businesses, those small organizations, and support them, because they're the ones that make the difference in the communities where the differences need to be made. It's easy to donate to the YMCA, and the YMCA may be doing awesome things, and they may even be in the community, but if they had the ability to impact every girl or boy in that community, then we would see a difference in that community. They don't. Don't overlook smaller organizations that are making just as great of impact. If you are interested in donating to Triumph Transition School, I will put a link below. I hope this has given you some type of, clarity. It has been therapeutic for me. A little bit too long, so I'm gonna sign off, and maybe next week I will get my end of the year reflection video done. All right, love you guys and have a great night.